Action!
Welcome to another episode of The Photographer's View, which is where I review a location. A photographer's view where I talk about a location that I've been to and that's popular with other photographers. Now, in today's video, we are going to discuss
Namibia.
Now, the reason we're going to discuss Namibia from a photographer's point of view is because it's a beautiful location. It attracts many photographers, but it's not always the easiest place to be in and to shoot, and we're going to talk about that. And yeah, I've only been once, which is going to give me an interesting viewpoint, I suppose. But Brendan, how many times have you been?
I think I've been 3 times, and I've kind of been all over the place.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So Brendan, if you don't know Brendan, by the way, he's a travel and landscape photographer and has a channel on YouTube. I'm sure most of you know him from Patagonia, because we worked together in Patagonia in April.
Yeah.
And are we doing that again?
No, I don't think we will. No. I really didn't have a good time. It was like the landscapes are so mediocre, and of course we're doing it again.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I suppose this is a good time to mention that we will be running Patagonia again next April.
Yep.
And because it's so far away and there's such demand for the workshop, we're going to do 2. So we'll stick a link in the description to that workshop. And yeah, you can
That's gonna be fun,
go and
man.
book it. It's going to be awesome.
I can't wait. When
Greg's
we just go
coming
tomorrow.
too.
Yeah, Greg's gonna be there, sadly.
Yeah. So it'll be.
We don't have to deal with Greg's smelly feet again.
Oh yeah, of course. Greg's feet.
Greg's feet will
Famous
be there.
feet. Sorry, Greg.
Sorry.
I don't.
We love you, buddy.
Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about Namibia. So, without further ado, let's do a photographer's view on Namibia. Okay, so you're a photographer and you want to go to Namibia. Where are you going to fly to?
You're gonna fly right into Windhoek. Well, to be honest, I think Windhoek's expensive to fly into a little bit, so you can actually, if you want, fly into Cape Town. The other advantage of flying into Cape Town is rental cars are way cheaper there.
How far is the drive from Cape Town?
It'd take you 2 days, like,
Right, yeah.
to get to the south, but I mean, you're in Namibia already, the drives are massive. When you look at like the map of Africa, it's distorted the way we see it. It's actually way bigger than it is, and it's just the type of mapping that we use is like Western civilization.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that? When I drove my scooter down Africa, it took me like over like 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not small.
Yeah, I was going to mention that in this video. If you go to Namibia, be prepared for the scale of it. It's huge and it's massively underpopulated. Not underpopulated, but you know, in like Europe, for example, you can't go more than a couple of miles without seeing civilization. Not in Namibia.
It's actually the second least densely populated country in the world, behind Mongolia.
Yeah, and
there's nobody there.
You can tell that when you're there. That's part of its charm. But, right, so you're going to Namibia. You want to go on a photography trip to Namibia. Bullet points. What do you need to know? Malaria. Yes or no?
So I'm no, because I spent a lot of time in Africa. I had malaria 3 times, and I think that the tablets are just as bad. But if you're going to the north of Namibia, essentially your doctor's going to tell you need them.
Yeah, I did some research before I went to Namibia last year, and everything told me that I was fine for Sossusvlei, but I went north to Etosha National Park, and therefore I was in the malaria zone, so I had Malarone, and they're the more expensive tablets. But I personally, and I'm not a doctor, so please God don't take this as any kind of advice or anything. In fact, if you just don't listen to what I'm about to say, I took Malarone and didn't feel a thing, no side effects, and it was fine. You're gonna need to hire a vehicle. You are definitely 100% gonna need to do a self-drive, because it's huge. Now, I hired, it was me and George, we had a 4x4. And I said, it's funny, because I said to Brendan when we were talking about recording this video, I said, okay, dude, so obviously we're gonna tell people to get a 4x4, but what for you?
So, the first time I was in Namibia, actually, I drove my scooter through, because I drove a scooter from Mali all the way to South Africa. The second time, I couldn't really afford a nice car, so I had it wasn't a bad car, it's just small. I had a Fiat 500 the second time.
Nice, yeah.
And then the last time I went in it, but I've been in 2-wheel drives every single time, so it is possible. But as a photographer, you're going to want a 4-wheel drive, because not only can you get closer to Deadvlei and Sossusvlei, but you can also do the Skeleton Coast, which I've never done but looks incredible.
Yeah, and the roads, they're not paved roads. They're all outside of the main towns and cities, which there aren't really any. All the roads are gravel roads.
Yeah.
And I swear to, if you hit 80 kilometers an hour and over, you start to swirl off. You start to skid off. Namibia has the highest rate of road mortality, or has a higher rate of road deaths than all of Europe per capita. I'm going to put it on screen, that fact, but it is. So if you hire a car, they make you watch a safety video because there are so many road traffic accidents.
And this is again why you rent in South Africa, so you don't have to watch it.
Yeah, I watched the video. It scared the hell out of me. Okay, locations. Okay, what are the? We're not going to do all of Namibia. I've only been there once.
Yeah.
I probably haven't got time in this video. What are the must see? You know, if you're going to fly halfway around the world, what are the must see locations? Sossusvlei National Park, which also has dead flay in it. And then Etosha National Park, which is wildlife safari type thing. Now, I've not been to Damaraland.
So I'd say there's probably, I'm trying to think, there's probably 4 other places that you probably want to go as photographers. Farther north towards Angola, you have the Himba people. Seeing the Himba people, they have like a coating of red mud like paint, and they're just beautiful people. They're a little bit almost over photographed in terms of it almost becomes like a.
Do you have images of this?
I have one.
Can I throw it on screen?
But it's a really bad image, so I'm a little bit. Well, I'll let you throw it on the screen anyway. But they're some of them are very willing to be photographed, but usually they ask for money. Damaraland's beautiful, which I've never photographed, but is incredible to look at and drive through, and there's definitely images to be made there.
Yeah, when I go again, Damaraland's on my list of places to go to.
The Quiver Tree Forest in the south, which is unbelievable. Unbelievable, especially if you do star photography, because Namibia, it's open spaces. And
do you have images of that as well?
I don't have the
I need
Quiver
to put
Tree.
images on this. We've both been to Swakopmund.
Yep.
Beautiful little town. Well, it's not beautiful. I mean, it is. It's a town. It's a very German colonial town. But it's right on the edge of these sand dunes. Like the sand dunes are about a mile from the town. I was there last year. You'll see a video of mine and some images, and you can just drive for 10 minutes from the town, park up, and you can just go mad in these dunes. You can walk right into them. You can always navigate in and out because they're on their coastal dunes. So all you need to do is, you know, if you're unsure, bring a compass. I think it's west, straight to the coast. Can't go wrong.
Swakopmund's cool too. You can actually skydive there for really cheap. Right over the dunes. You got the dunes and the coast.
Oh man,
I got images of that.
Have you? Stick them up. So Sossusvlei. Bit of a tricky one.
Yeah.
I reckon it catches a lot of photographers by surprise if they don't do the research. So yeah, you can't shoot it at sunset. Or sunrise.
Well, yeah, you can, but the other thing is we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, we've got the map here.
There's one lodge that I actually didn't realize that you could be kind of sneaky and stay at and shoot sunset called the Dune Lodge.
Well, let's explain. So you've got the national park. All the good areas to shoot inside the national park are anywhere from 30 to 60 kilometers away from the gate into the national park, which is manned by wardens. Essentially, they open the gates into the national park after sunrise, they close them before sunset. So you can't shoot all of the beautiful stuff in the amazing light, with one exception. There is one accommodation in the national park itself, which is the Dune Lodge, and that is within the boundaries. There are no guards, there are no gates, you're in the park and that's it. Now we were discussing this before, I don't actually know if it's legal or not to be in the park after sunset, I don't know. But let me tell you what we did in November. We were staying in the Dune Lodge, which is very expensive because it's the only place you can stay inside the national park. The Dune Lodge is beautiful, all of these fantastic huts, a swimming pool, everything you would expect from a super pricey lodge in a national park in Africa. There's only one road in and out that takes you to all the good stuff, the Dune 45, Dune 41, whatever, all those big dunes, and then you've got Deadvlei, and then all the sand dunes all around that you can go and explore. As we were saying before, you have to be out of the park at like 8:30 p.m. And because it's a 60-kilometer drive plus the hike back to your car, wherever that is, you've got to leave way before the light starts getting good. But because we were staying in the park, we didn't have to worry about getting locked in and having to pay to get out. So we just stayed in there until way after sunset and then drove back straight up to our lodge, out the car, into our hut.
So I had conflicting information in that I was told that if you stay late, you pay a fine, and that you can risk having your camera images deleted. Because I talked to one person who said that they caught somebody shooting dead flay in the stars, and then they just deleted all their images. So there's like conflicting reports. The thing is that you should try to be at least within reason. You can't. I don't think you can be in there at night shooting stars, and I think it's because they're worried about safety. But if you're staying at Sossusvlei Lodge, you can shoot sunset as soon as sunset's like literally done, you leave.
Yeah, you would have to break the speed limit to get back.
I think so. And then, well, I know so because I've done it. Don't tell the wardens that. But you can't leave past the second gate out of Sossusvlei Lodge. So you really definitely need to stay at Dune Lodge or Sossusvlei Lodge, worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And the other thing you need to know is that the local tour companies, they book these things like 9, 10, 12 months in advance, and they book the entire thing so that it's really hard for tourists to book. So you want to try to book like way far in advance, like if you can, a year.
Yeah, and my advice would be, if you really want to shoot this national park in the best light and at the best time, you really do have to stay in the Dune Lodge, and then you can relax and shoot sunrise, sunset, stay after dark with pretty much no risk. But you have to book it way in advance, and it's going to cost you. But
I think it's worth it.
Is it worth it? It's worth it.
Totally worth it.
Amazing.
It's almost pointless to go into the dunes if you can't shoot them in that light.
Let's talk about the photography there. Red sand dunes.
It's insane.
Huge. The little trees dotted everywhere, so you can frame the trees up against the red dunes. They're constantly changing, so you can walk into the sand dunes and see this, they're never going to look the same like week after week, month after month, year after year. It's always windy during the day, so that shifts the sand, and you get amazing abstract images. The light is gorgeous. When I was there was never any clouds, which meant shooting during the day was not great. You might get the odd black and white image, high contrast, but that 15-20 minutes from the sun just coming up and breaking over the horizon, and then that side light hitting the dunes. Oh my god. I saw one other photographer when I was there.
Yeah, I've shot dead flay 3 times, and I've never seen another tripod there.
No.
And I think that I've seen other tripods, you see other photographers, but you never see serious photographers.
Oh yeah, you get like...
It's kind of strange, actually.
Yeah, I saw one serious photographer with a tripod, and then there was me and George. Are we watching this, George? The light's nice.
Yeah, the light's great, but again, it is like a very small window. You get like maybe an hour before sunset, and then maybe 15 minutes after.
Yeah. And then you need to get out there because it's so hot during the day.
Midday, I made the mistake of, I was like, you know what, I'm here. I might as well climb Dune 45. It's whatever, it's noon. I climbed to the top, and I was like, need to get back to the car. I was like crawling. I could see the car, but it just seemed so far. It's so hot. It's so dry. That you got to be wary of the elements in there.
Dead flay. Now I had a 4x4, so we drove down the sandy track, which we got stuck twice. Had to dig ourselves out because we don't know how to drive off road. Get slamming on the brakes and digging ourselves in. Anyway, so if you're gonna have a 4-wheel drive, it's a sand road for about a few miles. Drive slowly, drive carefully, and then when you get there, we couldn't find dead flay. There was one sign that said "Follow signpost to dead flay." And there were no signs. It was just ridiculous. And we got lost and couldn't find it the first attempt. Eventually we found it. And it can be a bit sketchy, and I can understand why people get lost there.
The trick to that is go into Google Maps, find it on Google Maps, with the Earth view, and then literally just save that offline. So that, because you're not going to get service in there, but save an offline map and it'll track where you are. So then you can just walk in the direction of it. Yeah. And then you won't get lost in the desert.
So yeah, Sossusvlei, that's good. The practical information we can give you is to stay at the Dune Lodge, so you can actually make use of the good light, and shoot with the long lens, and take lots of water and a hat and sun cream, and get out there once sun's risen because it gets too hot. Yeah. So let's say you want to drive from Sossusvlei up to Etosha, for example.
Yep.
Namibia can be scary. It's safe. It's the safest African country, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Botswana's probably safer, but it's up there.
Very
for sure.
safe, but it's huge. Yeah. We drove. I know, no exaggeration. We drove on dirt roads for up to 4 hours without seeing another vehicle, and that's how big it is. So for safety and practicality, if you're going to drive anywhere in Namibia, assume you're not going to see anyone or anything until you get to your destination. So take lots of water,
spare tire,
food, stuff like that. There's no cell service, no phone reception.
Yeah.
I never got anything when I was there. And we had a SIM card as well. I had a local SIM card, nothing apart from in the big towns, the Windhoek, the city. So Etosha National Park is awesome.
Yeah, so Etosha's kind of a bit of a seasonal park. You're not, because there's no water. A lot of the wildlife.
Oh yeah, it's wildlife, not landscapes.
Yeah, we're going there. You can shoot some landscapes there,
you
but
can't get out here.
You can't get out of. Well, maybe at the salt pans, but yeah, it's a wildlife destination for sure. But the wildlife is very seasonal because it's not. You don't get a lot of water. It's not like Kruger in South Africa or Chobe. It's very seasonal, so it's kind of almost a hit or miss thing that some months you go there, sometimes you go there and you just see everything. And sometimes you hardly see anything. Yeah. But if there's stuff, you will see it.
And you will make great images because unlike Kruger's pretty much covered by bushveld. So, it's very hard to compose images in Kruger. Although there's an abundance of wildlife there, a lot of it can just be behind the bushveld and, it's kind of not great. But Etosha is just wide open. Yeah. We saw lions hunting wildebeest through grasslands, and then there's huge salt pans where you get fantastic shots with amazing clean backdrops. So you can create more artistic wildlife shots where you incorporate the landscape. Whereas in Kruger you kind of have to go in tight, otherwise it's just bushveld everywhere, which isn't the most attractive.
The other real beauty to Etosha is because there's not a lot of water there, all the wildlife congregates around the water holes.
And the camp,
so you just go to the water holes and there's wildlife every time.
The best thing that we had, which I didn't make use of at all, is at the camp we stayed at, because I think there aren't many camps, are there?
No, there's a couple, but there's two main ones. Something. It starts with an O. The second letter is a K.
Yeah, so it's a camp. There's a couple of swimming pools. You basically bush hut with air conditioning, which is nice. Food terrible. It's a buffet, terrible. Service terrible. Terrible service. 40 minutes to wait for a beer.
Yeah.
Not too expensive. Namibia I found quite cheap and reasonable. But it has this watering hole and lots of seats around the watering hole and in shade as well. So you could get a beer or a glass of wine in the evening. It's floodlit. You can't go into the park at night. You have to be out of the park by 6 p.m, 6:30 p.m. But you're in your camp, and your camp has this view of a watering hole, and you can see everything. And you just sit there, shoot, relax, have a drink. Enjoy the warm evening temperatures. It's a bit like a holiday. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the way my day went kind of in Etosha, I'd get up and drive around trying to find wildlife, sunrise at time, and then when it got hot and the wildlife kind of chilled out, I'd go back and just hang out at the waterhole at the Halali camp, sit there, drink some water, have my lunch. It kind of feels weird. You're like eating a sandwich as there's a lion right there, right? It just feels strange.
And these waterholes, they're right there.
Yeah,
You're
they're
right on top.
Right on top of it. And like Tom said, they're floodlit at night with I don't know if it's like a black light that doesn't disturb them or anything, but
something like that.
You can see it and you can see the wildlife. And I would go there every night, and I actually saw a pack of lions like chasing around two rhinos as they were on top of a giraffe kill.
Yeah.
Like that's legit what happened there, and it's just next level.
What else would you want to know if you're going there for the first time and you're unsure?
I think that for gear, most people don't have a 400mm lens, I don't think.
No.
So maybe consider renting one for a trip. Yeah. You rented a lens, didn't you, or borrowed one?
A borrowed one.
Yeah, and I rented one. I rented one in Johannesburg actually that I used. But I think Namibia, you want 400mm.
Yeah, if you're going to Namibia, you will want to shoot dunes and you will want to shoot wildlife. So for both of those subjects, a long lens is your friend. If you shoot Canon, the 100-400 is a superb lens. And that's that. I don't know. I don't shoot with anything else. So the equivalent Tamron or Sigma, I'm sure, on Nikon. Nikon. It's Nikon.
It's Nikon.
Japanese, it's Nikon.
We should call it Japanese. Get Japan on the phone.
Is it Nikon or is it Nikon?
Vote A for Nikon and B for Nikon.
You can do a poll on YouTube. I'm going to put a poll here, right? And it's either Nikon with an EY, Nikon.
I'm buying ice cream for everybody that says Nikon.
Right, enough about this. It's a safe country, it's a big country. Sorry, it appears This Canon M50 has a 30-minute record limit on it.
We've been talking way too much.
Yeah, this video, I'm hoping to get this video down to 15 minutes.
Yeah,
so
let's leave it raw.
Yeah, no, God, no. It's a beautiful country. It's sparse, it's vast, and it's very definitely a photographer's paradise, and there is so much to explore. And it's a very, very safe country.
It really is. Most of Africa is much safer than people ever imagine, but Namibia especially, it's totally safe. I have no idea how people are concerned about Namibia because it's so safe.
I have more concerns going out in like London. Or something.
Definitely. So. I have one concern about this video.
What?
Your seat's higher than mine. It makes me look short.
Oh, hang on.
He did this on purpose.
There we go.
Yeah. Let's get that right. There. Now we're in a real height.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to end this video there. No, that's it. I can't think of anything else. This has been a long version of this video, but hopefully, you've taken away something, a few tips and bits and pieces of advice. If you are considering going to Namibia, or you've already planned the trip and just wanted to know what was good to shoot there. Ooh, well, don't know what that was. Ooh. How do I end these videos?
Peace.
No, that's your ending.
It's kind of lame, isn't it?
Right, yeah. All right, thanks. Bye.